Paw Patrol, the last bastion of white supremacy. Is the Confederate flag racist? Let's talk about it, y'all. Little America. Well, it's been an interesting couple of weeks, ladies and gentlemen. One of the funnier, my friend just posted a article. He said 75% of Facebook users do not read an article when it's presented. They just read the title and form their conclusions there. So I'm hearing this stuff about Paw Patrol, how Paw Patrol was canceled, yada yada yada. And I looked around, and Paw Patrol is not actually canceled. Paw Patrol is a cartoon, and it's basically these little puppies or babies or baby dogs or whatever, and they're running around or arresting bad guys or something like that. I'm not really sure, but supposedly Paw Patrol was getting canceled. But I'm looking at Snopes. Snopes says no, it's not canceled. Basically, the rumor started as social media users debated the impact of how police officers were portrayed on television and in movie in spite of the widespread protest. And then it says there is a rumor on social media that the animated children's show Paw Patrol has been canceled due to its portrayal. As far as we can tell, earnest calls to have Paw Patrol canceled due to the portrayal of police officers have been few and far between. So basically, nobody's really asking for the end of Paw Patrol because that has nothing to do with where we are right now currently. Now, the reason that Paw Patrol came up was because Live PD and the show Cops apparently has been canceled. Now, when I first came to this country, Cops was one of the first kind of shows we would sit down and watch together as a family, and it had the, bad boy, it was Jamaican and all that, and it was an interesting show. But Cops got canceled, Live PD got canceled. They're talking about canceling Dukes of Hazzard, it's in syndication, and a couple other things. To me, that's just crazy. That's just crazy. These shows are not, and what are you gonna do? Are you're gonna stop? You're gonna be a library and not have Tom Sawyer, Huckleberry Finn? Tom Sawyer's running around talking about nigger Jim. His black friend, and that was him being affectionate, calling the guy nigger Jim. So are we gonna do book burnings? I'm not sure where it's necessarily going to stop. And so Paw Patrol looks like it's safe, but this sort of is indicative of why certain movements, especially on the left, don't really take off, because it's believable that folks were calling for the cancellation of Paw Patrol. That's believable because in the last 4 or 5 years, we've seen these folks, when they're upset, they're angry, they just want to cancel you. There's no dialogue, there's no talking, there's no nothing. And so I think the fact that it was believable that it was canceled speaks a lot to the culture. Let me say it that way. And then the fact that there were actually some people that went there also speaks a lot about our culture. So I guess you're just gonna have to catch Cops on YouTube because it's canceled now. And I just think it's a very interesting way to solve the problem. They're talking about getting rid of Gone with the Wind and all the rest of it. Then you've got Lady Antebellum, right? So the Antebellum is basically describing the slavery South, and during the antebellum period, or sometimes when I talk about slave trade, I'll say the transatlantic slave trade or the antebellum slavery, yada yada yada. So there's this recording artist, and the name of the band is Lady Antebellum. They're changing it to Lady A. I don't understand. What is that supposed to do? Did you not know what the term antebellum meant during the Tamir Rice situation, during Trayvon Martin, during Eric Garner, Walter Scott, Sean? You didn't know what antebellum meant in previous times, but now you know, and so you're going to change it to Lady A, which basically means what? Because if somebody says, hey, I wonder what A stands for, people are going to say antebellum. So I don't, it's like, let's not call ourselves Nazis. Let's wear a swastika. And I'm not comparing that to that. I'm just saying the foolishness of changing that name to me is just mind-boggling. All the fans that they have, the millions and millions of fans, many of which I'm sure are black, all they knew was to call them Lady Antebellum. So, I mean, look, I think this band, apparently this band's been around for quite some time. I think they're going to get I think they have more fans that knew them as Antebellum than they will ever get new fans who know them as Lady A. And I just think it's, I don't know if it's virtue signaling. I'm not going to go there and say that they're trying to virtue signal, but what I will say is that it's obvious that something different has happened here. And so I get it. Now, the next thing. The Confederate flag is banned at NASCAR, which is a massive deal. The Confederate flag has been a main staple in the South, and, NASCAR is, I might be stereotyping here, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. NASCAR is the South. I mean, that is Southern country. I mean, that is the Mecca for race cars and all that stuff, and here we go. And so one of these guys, I forgot what the guy's name was, but he basically said, I'm going to quit because they won't let me fly my special flag. So this is my last year in NASCAR. And then apparently NASCAR on Twitter basically said, we had to Google who you were. So I don't know if that Twitter response is actually real, but brother said he was quitting because they won't let him fly his special flag. Now, anytime I bring up the Confederate flag and the monuments, which we're going to talk about in a second, I always get some Southerner who says to me, Vin, the Confederate flag has nothing to do with racism. The Confederate flag has to do with our heritage. Of course, which is a silly false dichotomy. It's very, very possible that you have a racist heritage. So even if the flag represents your heritage, that does not help you if your heritage is racist. You're still part of a racist system. Now, I get so many people telling me that has nothing to do with slavery and nothing to do with anything. Okay. So here is a very, very famous speech called the Cornerstone Speech. And I'm going to read you some excerpts. This is the Vice President of the Confederacy saying this, and I quote, "Our new government is founded upon exactly the opposite idea. Its foundations are laid, its cornerstone rests upon the great truth that the Negro is not equal to the white man. That slavery subordination to the superior race is his natural and normal condition. This, our new government, is the first in the history of the world based upon this great physical, philosophical, and moral truth. This truth has been slow in the process of its development," etc., etc., etc. Then he's talking about people who are trying to end slavery. Listen to what he says. "One of the most striking characteristics of insanity in many instances is forming correct conclusions from fancied or erroneous premises, so it is with the anti-slavery fanatics. Their conclusions are right if their premises were. They assume that the Negro is equal and hence conclude that he is entitled to equal privileges and rights with the white man. If their premises were correct, their conclusions would be logical and just, but their premises being wrong and their whole argument fails." Okay. I'll say one more. "With us, all of the white race, however high or low, rich or poor, are equal in the eye of the law. Not so with the Negro. Subordination is his place. He, by nature or by the curse against Canaan, is fitted for that condition which he occupies within our system." End quote. This is what the Vice President of the Confederacy said was the foundation of their entire movement. So when the Vice President says that slavery, the subjugation of the Negro, the mastery of the white race over the inferiority of the Negro race, when he says that as the Vice President, that means that that flag represents that. Those are facts. I'm sorry, but the thought leaders and the culture leaders of the day are the people that determine what the meaning of the flag is. The swastika is not something that Hitler invented. He stole it from other people. But now, because Hitler is the commander-in-chief, the definition of what the swastika means then gets matriculated based on what the leaders say it meant and the actions that they took under that banner. So it would be ridiculous for somebody to say, oh, these Nazis, they were terrible and we don't want a Nazi flag in the town square. And if people said, oh, come on, man, it has nothing to do with racism. It has nothing to do with anti-Semitism. It's just, our ancestors. It's just our fathers. It's the same syllogism. The Confederate flag represents the Confederacy, and the cornerstone of the Confederacy was the subjugation of the Negro. Those are facts. So that flag is an instrument of white supremacy, and it's very, very similar with these Confederate monuments. Now, I just saw a video where people were taking the Confederate guy and they were rolling him down the street and then they threw him into the water. A little black girl shoved him into the water. And people are going to say, Vin, you're being hypocritical because earlier you said these books shouldn't be banned or burned or these shows shouldn't be banned, but now you're saying that you're good with the Confederate flag and you're good with the statues being torn down and thrown away. Here's the difference, brother. The book is a work of fiction. Okay? Now, the work of fiction communicates certain ideas, but the book is a work of fiction. Paw Patrol is a work of fiction. The show Cops, you might think it's reality TV, but believe you me, a lot of that stuff, they're taking second, third, fourth, and fifth takes, okay? And as such, the police departments have never issued a document, at least modern police, that say, we believe in the subjugation of Negroes. Conversely, the Confederate flag exists in the real world, and it symbolizes things that happen in the real world. And these monuments are also lionizing and are there for the admiration of the public when these are people who A, rebelled against our country, and B, did so in order to maintain the foundation of the subjugation of the black man. So you got a General Lee statue, and this dude was fighting and killing people to maintain that cornerstone. And you're telling me that that's the same thing as Paw Patrol? No, it's not. Then you get these really silly people saying, you're erasing history. If you take down those monuments, you're erasing history. Which, quite frankly, I don't really believe that anybody who says that really believes that. I remember during the invasion of Iraq, don't you? And this was all over TV when the Marines and those boys went in there and Saddam's soldiers all split and ran. What did you see? What was the first thing those Iraqi people did? They got some ropes or whatever and they pulled down the statue of Saddam and then they started hitting the statue with their shoe. Are you trying to tell me that these Iraqis were erasing their history? What a silly argument. Everybody cheered when the Iraqis did that. CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, everybody cheered. Everybody said, yeah, and everybody understood what was going on. This man had a monument built to him in the town square. And listen to me, we do not build monuments primarily to teach history, okay? We build monuments to people who did something exceptional and then they get celebrated by having a monument. When you drive into the United Center for a basketball game, you know what you're going to walk by? You're going to walk by a statue of the great Michael Jordan in the air. Because that is a monument to the greatness of the second greatest basketball player of all time. It's a monument to him. You're saying he should be emulated. This is a great guy, yada, yada, yada. Let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. Are you trying to tell me that if that Jordan statue got taken down, that would mean that nobody would know who Michael Jordan is? Germans know who Adolf Hitler is, and there are no Adolf Hitler statues. It's a ridiculous argument. The reason that people are against the Confederate flag being banned and the statues remaining being taken down is the same reason that people want the Confederate flag banished and want those statues taken down. It's the same reason. The reason is because both of those are indicators of white supremacy. That's what that is. That's all. That's the only reason folks want those symbols up, because everybody understands the power of the symbolism. That's why they were rolling this dude down the street. Why would you do that? Just put him in the back of a truck and chuck him. Nope. They rolled him down the street because that's a metaphor for something. So, miss me with that. A monument is there in the city square, not primarily to teach history, but primarily to celebrate a person and tell everybody that's watching it or looking at it, this is a guy you should emulate. That's what monuments are for. They're not primarily there to teach history, they're there to teach culture. Okay? So, the history book teaches history. The museum teaches history. The monument teaches culture. The monument says, this is the epitome, this is the prototype of the man or the woman that we want in our culture. Replicate him or her. That's what a monument is. Okay? So, it's not the same thing. The monument is a symbol of white supremacy. And the people who are upset about it coming down are upset about it for the same reason that the people that want it to come down are happy. And it's because a lot of these folks are starting to see the death grip and the monopoly of this country coming to an end. And they hate that. And that's what those symbols mean. Those symbols, that Confederate flag, those statues with slave owners who are, by default, a statue is going to stand about 6, 7, 8, 9 feet looking down upon you. That's all part of the psychology of supremacy and inferiority. That's what's happening. It is the most irrational thing on the planet to say, if we get rid of a statue, we're erasing history. What a silly thing to say. Again, there are no monuments to Hitler in Germany, and the Germans know about Hitler just fine. So, if you're worried about that, don't worry. Maybe you didn't think of that angle of it. So look, the Paw Patrol stuff, the canceling the cop show and all that stuff, that's more of the same. I've always decried that stuff, the senators kneeling and all that, Pelosi taking that very, very cringe-worthy. The thing was so cringe, I couldn't even shoot a video on it. It's this sort of like milquetoast liberalism that is all a bunch of flash and not much substance. Whereas now, these are actionable items that affect things in the real world, and I think that's a good thing. And so that's the difference. Cannot wait to see the comment section here. Love your neighbor, take care of each other, Middle America. We are the media. Till next time, guys.